Our story begins with Leon arriving at a military base near the North Korean border to begin his mandatory service. Everyone expects great things from him because he graduated as one of the top recruits in training. But behind that achievement is a young man struggling with money, grief, and responsibility after losing his father only months earlier. The base is cold and gray and exactly what you'd expect a place like this to look like. He meets Rico first, the unit's human bulletin board, the soldier who knows everything about everyone and has never once been told to stop talking. Rico has one piece of advice: whatever you do, don't let him find out anything about you. He'll sell you. Then Leon meets Yena. She is calm, intelligent, and far kinder than most people on the base. But before Leon can even focus on her introduction, something impossible happens. A floating game-like window appears before his eyes. It displays his information as if he has entered a video game. Nobody else can see it. Leon begins wondering if he is losing his mind. Yena notices his confusion and sends him to the kitchen to eat something. That decision changes his life. Inside the kitchen, Leon meets Boma. Boma is the military chef. He spends more time building muscles than improving recipes. His food is terrible. Everyone knows it. Nobody says it. Soldiers fear mealtime more than military drills. Anyone who complains gets yelled at immediately. The bully, Drac, is waiting at Leon's table. The bullying begins on day one. Only Boma steps in and stops things from becoming worse. Unfortunately, the food is even worse than the bullying. When Leon couldn't eat, he jumped to his feet to get some water, but Drac deliberately stuck out his leg and tripped him. As a result, Leon fell face first into his meal later. Colonel reviews Leon's background. After learning that Leon's mother works with food, he suddenly decides to assign him to the kitchen staff. Leon is horrified. Boma already dislikes him. Working under him sounds like a nightmare, but Colonel refuses to change his decision. That night, Game Window appears. A quest notification fills the air before Leon's eyes. It tells him that he is destined to become a legendary chef, not a soldier, not a hero, a chef. Leon cannot believe what he is reading. The next morning, Boma shows Leon the stockroom. It is a test disguised as orientation, a space the size of a small apartment, full of expired ingredients, disorganized chaos, the accumulated neglect of someone who stopped caring. Boma locks him in, folds his arms, walks away. The game speaks. A skill unlocks Chef's Eye. Leon can look at any ingredient and know whether it's spoiled and by how much and what might still be salvaged. The ability glows in his palms like heat, not painful, just present, just real, just impossible. He begins to work. He categorizes. He clears. He organizes everything exactly as it should be, by expiration date, by type, by use. When Boma comes back, the stockroom is perfect. Boma stares at it for a long time. He doesn't say anything. He locks the door again. Then Game rewards Leon with new stars, a new level, a new recipe. Meanwhile, an inspector from headquarters, Vice, arrives with Yena's rival in tow, determined to find something wrong. The kitchen is the obvious target. The kitchen is always the obvious target, but when Vice steps into the stockroom, he finds nothing wrong at all. Clean, organized, professional. He can't punish them for excellence. Instead, he punishes them for the condition of the kitchen. As punishment, they are suspended from work leave and denied any vacation time. Boma is furious. He had one day left before vacation. He decides to endure. He will not make waves. He will cook his terrible food in silence for 100 more days, and then he will be free. The next morning, Leon wakes up early and tries to cook the recipe the game gave him, but Boma continues treating him like a servant and assigns him to scrub the floor. He scrubs the floor. The food Boma makes is too salty, too spicy, too everything. The soldiers come back from training and stand at the serving line with the expressions of men who have already decided to suffer, and they eat because they must, not because they want to. Drac eats like he's walking into enemy fire. He loses, badly, to a piece of spiced sausage that hits him somewhere tender. He cries, eating. He says it's fine. Nobody believes him. Meanwhile, Admiral plans a surprise visit to the base. Colonel boasts that his unit serves excellent food. The moment those words leave his mouth, he regrets them, because everyone knows the truth. The leader urgently calls Yena with important news. The Admiral is on the way, and a high-quality meal must be prepared immediately. Rushing to the kitchen, Yena expects to find the staff hard at work, but instead discovers that Boma is missing, and and Leon is the only one there. To her surprise, Leon is calmly experimenting with a new recipe he recently received from the game. The dish looks incredible. For the first time, Leon feels proud of his cooking. Admiral takes a bite. His eyes widen. The flavor is extraordinary. Then suddenly, he cannot breathe. The entire room erupts into chaos. Leon thinks he has ruined everything. Moments later, doctors reveal the truth. Admiral has an allergy to one of the spices. The food was not the problem. In fact, he admits it was one of the best meals he has ever tasted. The praise shocks everyone. But instead of celebrating, Leon learns an important lesson. His father's cooking knowledge is beginning to change the lives of everyone around him, and the mysterious system wants him to keep going. The leader asks them to prepare a meal for him. Then Bully Drac mocks him. As Boma starts cooking the meal, something shifts in the unit's rotation when Leon notices, through the glow of Chef's eye, that the eggs Boma is about to use are bad. All of them but one. He guides Boma quietly, almost invisibly, fixing the seasoning with techniques his father taught him. His father. For the first time, the leader enjoys a truly delicious meal. He then thanks Boma for the food, leaving Boma overjoyed and proud of himself. He asks Leon not to leave. Yenna overhears. She goes to the leader and argues that Leon should stay in the kitchen, that the unit has changed since he arrived, that something real is happening here. The colonel dismisses her, tells her to remember her rank, tells her she of all people should know better than to push. She leaves without another word, tells her he's fine, that he's cooking, that he's becoming someone she'd be proud of. He does not tell her about Drac's fists, or the sergeant's contempt, or the days he spent scrubbing floors that will never be clean enough for people who have already decided they don't want them to be. He keeps the ugliness from her. That is his father's language too. The next morning, the rice is bad. Boma can't hide it. The smell reaches the sergeant before the plate does. Leon moves, quiet and fast, adding rice vinegar to kill the odor, water to recalibrate the salt, a pinch of his father's secret blend from the pocket of his uniform, where he keeps it always, the way other people keep photographs. The game shows him the quantities. He pays with his last unit of energy. The meal goes out. The soldiers eat. They eat like it's the first time anyone has ever fed them like they deserved it. Leon calls his mother that night, tells her he's fine, that he's cooking, that he's becoming someone she'd be proud of. He does not tell her about Drac's fists, or the sergeant's contempt, or the days he spent scrubbing floors that will never be clean enough for people who have already decided they don't want them to be. He keeps the ugliness from her. That is his father's language too. The next morning, the rice was bad. Boma can't hide it. The smell reaches the sergeant before the plate does. Leon moves, quiet and fast, adding rice vinegar to kill the odor, water to recalibrate the salt, a pinch of his father's secret blend from the pocket of his uniform where he keeps it always, the way other people keep photographs. The game shows him the quantities. He pays with his last unit of energy. The meal goes out. The soldiers eat. They eat like it's the first time anyone has ever fed them like they deserved it. Rico declares it a second miracle. The sergeant had spent his entire career eating burned, sour, and tasteless food without a single complaint. As usual, he took a bite, expecting nothing. But the moment the food touched his tongue, he froze. Then he took another bite, and another. The soldiers watched closely. The sergeant was their harshest judge. When he closed his eyes and kept eating, they knew the verdict. This food was different. Soon, everyone was eating with excitement. For the first time in this kitchen, nobody wanted to be anywhere else. Even Drac, the bully, is smiling. The game interface glows softly at the edge of Leon's vision. New mission, new level, new challenge loading. The problem still remains. Yenna spoke with the colonel about Leon, but he refused. Leon wants to earn the leader's approval, and that depends on whether Gamble gives him more playing time. The mission timer is running down. The game's satisfaction gauge is pinned to the colonel's name, and Leon has been working against the clock with borrowed meat and borrowed time. He builds the recipe with everything he has, adjusting water ratios, layering seasonings, adding his father's private blend, because it is the only move he has left. The plate that comes out is quiet and beautiful. He carries it to the colonel. The colonel looks at it. He says, "I've made my decision. You're being transferred." That's final. final. I know what I'm doing. Leon walks back to the kitchen with an empty plate and a game score that has just dropped to 0. The mission ends. He failed it. He gives the food to Yenna instead. Just gives it to her. She's the only one he can think to give it to. She's about to eat when the call comes in. A fisherman from the north is rescued after a storm and accidentally ends up in the south. Terrified, he insists he wants to go home before his government believes he defected. High-ranking officers try to convince him to stay, offering freedom and a new life, but fear keeps him from accepting. Yenna takes a different approach. Instead of making promises, she asks Leon to prepare a meal for him. Alone in his room, the man tastes the food and is overwhelmed by emotions and memories he thought were lost forever. When the officers return, tears fill his eyes. He tells them the meal reminded him that another life is possible. At that moment, he makes his decision. I'll stay. Before leaving for his interview, he thanks Leon for giving him the best moment of his life. Yenna uses the moment. She goes to the colonel above the colonel, the general, and says, the soldier who cooked that meal is being transferred. The entire unit has changed since he arrived. This base is unrecognizable. You just watched a man choose to abandon his country because of food this soldier made with leftover ingredients in a military kitchen. She keeps her voice even. She does not beg. The general says, leave him where he is. The game reboots. New mission, new level, higher stakes. Leon stands in the kitchen doorway and stares at the interface glowing quietly at the edge of his vision, and he understands that whatever came before was the tutorial. The next day, Leon is assigned to clean the bathrooms. As he works, the dark bully comes out of the restroom and immediately starts harassing, looking ready to attack. Just then, Bomo arrives and grabs the bully's arm, stopping him. Staring him down, Bomo warns that if he ever comes near Leon again, he'll make sure the bully loses his teeth. After scaring the bully away, Bomo tells Leon he's leaving soon and warns him that, if he wants to survive, he'll need to get stronger. So, Bomo offers to train him. The next day brings the hardest ingredient this kitchen has ever seen: fish. Bomo announces it the way a doctor announces a terminal diagnosis. Fish is the most hated dish in the entire army, not because of the taste, but because of the smell. There is nothing on this base that can remove it. Every previous attempt has ended with trays in the garbage and soldiers eating crackers for dinner. The soldiers are informed that a high-ranking official will soon be visiting the base, and everyone is ordered to clean their rooms and make sure everything is in perfect condition. The commander then heads to the kitchen to check what meal is being prepared, wanting to ensure the guest receives good food. However, he is told that today's meal is fish, the most disliked food on the entire base. Worried, the commander immediately calls the supply department and orders them to send chicken instead. But due to a mix-up, they accidentally deliver more fish. With no other option available, the responsibility falls on Leon. As he works on preparing the meal, the sergeant storms into the kitchen and warns him that if he fails to produce a good dish, he might as well cook Leon in the fish's place. The game opens a new recipe branch. A warning appears alongside it: this skill will cost everything Leon currently has. He agrees anyway. He learns the correct method. He cooks the fish to a perfect crisp, the texture is right, the color is right, everything a fish should be. But when he lifts the lid to check, the smell is still there. Leon goes to the stockroom. He stands in front of shelves of condiments and spices and remembers a specific afternoon, his father's restaurant, a batch of fish that came in wrong, his father reaching for the tomato sauce not to add flavor, but to neutralize the smell, a trick learned from somewhere older than either of them. The game shows him the exact quantity. It is the last move he can make with the energy he has left. He adds the sauce, the kitchen goes very quiet, and then a very important visitor arrives for a surprise inspection tour. He walks the entire base, checks rooms, interviews soldiers, observes drills. He reaches the food question last, because in every army he has ever visited, the food question is always the most revealing. He asks the colonel, "What is today's meal?" The colonel, who did not know fish was on the menu and would have prevented it if he had, says, "Chicken." The visitor walks into the dining hall and finds fish. He sits down, he eats it, and like every person who has eaten Leon's food, like the admiral, like the sergeant, like the soldiers who now finish every tray, he goes somewhere else. He feels 20 years younger. He says it is the first time in his entire military career that he has eaten something in a base canteen that tasted like it was made by someone who actually cared whether he enjoyed it. Leon pushes himself beyond his limits. His stamina drops into the critical zone, flashing red warnings across the system interface. Any normal person would stop and rest, but Leon remembers his father and forces himself to continue. He reaches the rice supplies. Then, everything goes black. Leon awakens inside a mysterious garden. Ancient trees surround him, and a familiar crow watches from above. Walking through the peaceful landscape, he discovers his father standing beside a fire, cooking a meal that smells exactly like the breakfasts of his childhood. Leon rushes toward him. For a long moment, neither says anything. Finally, Leon admits the truth. Army life is harder than he expected. Every day feels like a struggle. But whenever he remembers his father and the sacrifices he made, he finds the strength to keep moving forward. His father listens quietly. Then he offers advice Leon will never forget. Work according to your conscience. And whenever exhaustion overwhelms you, don't focus on yourself. Look at the faces of the people eating your food. Their expressions will reveal what kind of person you truly are. The garden begins to distort. Colors bend. Light twists. His father suddenly becomes serious. He warns Leon about the system. Don't depend on the game. Don't allow it to become your hands. Leon wakes up in the infirmary. Tears are already running down his face. The doctors find nothing wrong. In fact, his condition is better than ever. Only Leon understands why. Soon afterward, Yenna arrives. She catches him talking to invisible system windows. What are you doing? Leon awkwardly claims he was waving away flies. Yenna decides not to ask further questions. Meanwhile, Leon discovers something important. Accumulating points consistently can stabilize his stamina. The system has a loophole, and Leon quietly stores that information away. The fish meal becomes national news. The VIP who ate Leon's fish suddenly feels decades younger. He chases criminals through the streets with unbelievable energy. His security team experiences similar effects. News channels explode with coverage. The battalion becomes famous overnight. Standing in the kitchen, Leon watches the reports. Then he says something his father used to say. I didn't do anything. It was just a simple recipe. Soon, the colonel gathers everyone. The battalion receives official praise. Then the colonel jokingly suggests extending Boma's military service. Boma nearly suffers a heart attack. He immediately begs the colonel not to even consider it. Everyone laughs. Later, the admiral arrives. He wants to know who deserves credit for the famous fish. The colonel begins carefully steering the conversation toward himself. Before he can finish, Yenna interrupts. She tells the admiral the truth. Leon created the dish. Leon cooked it. Leon deserves the recognition. Even though Yenna originally suggested serving fish, she gives all the credit to Leon without hesitation. The admiral notices. He also notices her leadership. Yenna then exposes another problem. Spoiled rice, rotten eggs, bad supplies constantly arriving at the battalion. The admiral immediately realizes the leadership has been neglecting oversight. He orders the colonel and Sarge to personally inspect all future deliveries. If it happens again, they will answer directly to him. That evening, the battalion hosts a barbecue. Boma starts cooking. Unfortunately, the results are disappointing. Some food burns, some food lacks flavor. Soldiers begin quietly losing interest. At that moment, Leon receives a new mission from the system. Increase soldier satisfaction. He gently convinces Boma to rest. Then Leon takes over the grill. Everything changes. The aroma alone spreads across the entire courtyard. Soldiers stop talking. Some claim they already feel full just from smelling the food. Others rush toward the barbecue. The atmosphere transforms completely. The admiral receives the first plate. After taking a bite, he closes his eyes. The taste feels warm, comforting, almost magical. He later admits it made him feel younger. Nearby, Yenna notices officers repeatedly taking extra servings. She immediately stops them. The soldiers and cooks haven't eaten yet. The food should belong to them first. Her words leave the officers embarrassed. As the soldiers finally enjoy their meal, Leon watches them. He sees genuine happiness, smiles, relief, peace at that moment. He finally understands exactly what his father meant in the garden. The joy on their faces matters more than any reward. The admiral later thanks Leon personally, not through another officer, not through a report. Directly, Boma notices, and something begins changing inside him. A small seed of insecurity starts growing. Rico tells Leon that talented cooks are often transferred to the officers' mess. That night, the officers dine on food food prepared by one of the world's top chefs. During the meal, the admiral reveals his plan. He wants Leon transferred to the officers' mess. The colonel instantly agrees, but Yenna refuses. She argues that Leon transformed the battalion. The soldiers finally eat well because of him. Moving him would help a few officers while hurting hundreds of soldiers. Vice immediately tries to silence her. The admiral stops him, then allows Yenna to continue. Yenna delivers a speech that shocks everyone. She accuses the officers of abandoning a certain captain the moment his reputation collapsed. The same officers who once praised him turned against him without hesitation. She explains that her own career suffered because she refused to betray him, because she remained loyal, because she still believes there is more to the story. After saying everything she needs to say, Yenna walks out. The room falls silent. The next morning, Leon checks new supplies. Most of them are spoiled. Again, Boma barely reacts. His leave has started. His bags are already packed. Yenna sees the situation and decides she will personally pursue the corruption behind the deliveries. Someone must be held accountable. Later, the local food vendor arrives expecting business. Instead, nobody wants his products. The soldiers are eating real food now. He receives a plate prepared by Leon. One bite changes everything. He immediately understands why nobody wants the old supplies anymore. Even the woman who collects kitchen scraps arrives to complain. Her animals have become picky. They no longer want ordinary leftovers. After tasting Leon's food herself, she freezes, then smiles. Finally, she admits she owes Leon an apology. Meanwhile, Boma prepares for his vacation. He calls friends. Nobody is available. He calls family. They already have plans. The free time he waited months for suddenly feels empty. Standing alone in the kitchen, he peels onions, partly for cooking, mostly to hide his emotions. When Leon approaches to comfort him, Boma unexpectedly lashes out. His frustration finally begins surfacing, not because he hates Leon, because everything in his life suddenly feels uncertain. Before the conversation can continue, Rico arrives with surprising news. A television crew has arrived. They want to interview the famous cooking soldier. Leon walks outside. Then, everything stops. A beautiful young woman appears. Maria, the moment she sees Leon, she runs straight toward him. Without hesitation, she throws her arms around him. The entire battalion falls silent. Every soldier watches in shock. Rico immediately asks if she's Leon's girlfriend. Leon quickly says no. That answer only creates even more questions. When they ask Maria what Leon means to her, she calmly replies that there is nobody in the world she loves more than him. The statement leaves everyone speechless, but Leon notices something else. The moment he asks about his mother, Maria hesitates, only for a second. Then she insists everything is fine, yet her brief reaction plants a seed of worry that Leon can't ignore. Meanwhile, Boma is eagerly waiting for his long-awaited vacation. After months of military kitchen duty, he feels he has earned a break. Then the colonel drops unexpected news. The leave is being given to Leon instead. Boma hides his disappointment, but the frustration is obvious. He warns Leon not to get used to special treatment before Wacky Leon leaves the base, and immediately discovers a major limitation of the mysterious game system. The moment he exits military territory, every ability shuts down. Chef's eye disappears. The interface goes dark. For the first time since receiving the system, Leon is completely on his own. When he arrives home, he finds his mother's restaurant nearly empty. Business has been steadily dying. Customers no longer come like they used to. His mother tries to stay strong, but Leon can see how much the situation hurts her. His mother prepares a simple meal. After one bite, Leon instantly realizes the food is off. Normally, he would rely on chef's eye, but now he can't. Instead, he enters the kitchen and cooks using only his own experience and the lessons his father left behind. The result isn't perfect, but it proves something important. He doesn't need the game to cook. Later, Leon's sister quietly admits that she wishes she could go out with her friends and enjoy a nice meal. For once, Leon immediately divides all the money he has. Half goes to his mother, half goes to his sister. Nothing remains remains for him. His sister accepts the money but secretly starts saving what little she can in case the family's situation becomes even worse. That night, Leon studies part of his father's notebook. The notes aren't recipes. They're lessons about ingredients, vendors, and relationships. The next morning, he accompanies his mother to the market. Every vendor recognizes them. Everyone remembers Leon's father. The respect shown to his family makes Leon realize something he never fully understood. His father's success wasn't built only on cooking. It was built on trust. The restaurant was part of the community itself. Back on base, Yenna continues investigating the spoiled food problem. After examining records and suppliers, she uncovers a disturbing truth. Many of the companies supplying military food don't actually exist. They're shell companies. Someone is using fake businesses to funnel money while feeding soldiers poor quality ingredients. Yenna reports everything to the colonel. Instead of supporting her, he warns her to stop digging. Yenna refuses. She vows to expose everyone responsible no matter who stands in her way. The sergeant receives a special piece of premium meat that was sent by an important military official. He guards it like treasure and warns the Boma.F not to touch it under any circumstances. But the Boma has become frustrated. Ever since Leon arrived, nobody wants to eat his cooking anymore. Soldiers constantly choose food from the food truck instead of the kitchen, and his confidence is collapsing. One day, Trico finally gives the Boma Leon's notebook, which contains cooking advice and recipes. While reading it, the chef realizes his biggest problem isn't talent, it's discipline. He keeps abandoning dishes halfway through to attend training, leaving food unattended and ruining meals. Determined to change, he secretly cooks the sergeant's precious meat, despite being warned not to touch it. He spends nearly 20 hours preparing it without sleep. When the sergeant finally tastes it, something unbelievable happens. For the first time in his life, the chef has created a truly delicious meal. The sergeant is so impressed that he decides the Boma deserves a vacation once Leon returns during his leave. Leon visits a famous restaurant with a massive waiting line. The moment he tastes the food, he understands why. The flavor is extraordinary, balanced, sweet and salty at the same time. It's the missing taste he has spent years trying to understand. The same taste his father's food always carried. After closing time, Leon meets the restaurant owner. Rather than praise the food, he tells the truth. His father recently died. His family's restaurant is struggling. His sister sacrifices small dreams because money is tight, and he desperately wants to learn. Before Leon leaves, the owner gives him a jar of premium tomatoes. One taste reveals the secret. The sweetness he had been searching for all along came from a specific tomato variety used in the sauce. Armed with this knowledge, Leon recreates the recipe perfectly and leaves detailed instructions for his mother. Back at the base, Leon receives wonderful news. His mother's restaurant is suddenly thriving again. Customers have returned. Word of mouth is spreading. The business that seemed destined to fail is finally recovering. For a brief moment, Leon allows himself to enjoy the victory. Then, disaster strikes. A national emergency is declared. All leave is canceled. Every soldier is recalled immediately. Boma's vacation ends almost as soon as it began. His frustration becomes so overwhelming that he ends up quietly crying into the sergeant's shoulder. The sergeant simply reminds him that this is the reality of military life. Soon afterward, the unit participates in a major field exercise. Leon remains assigned to the mobile kitchen. Unfortunately, the outdated equipment causes food quality to drop. Then a far bigger problem appears. Half the unit suddenly suffers food poisoning. Even the admiral becomes sick. Leon checks every ingredient using chef's eye. Everything appears clean. The true culprit remains hidden. Unknown to Leon, an enemy scout infiltrated the camp disguised as a civilian worker. The poison wasn't placed in the food, it was placed in the water supply. Later, the same infiltrator returns carrying dummy explosives. This time, Leon notices suspicious behavior. He alerts Boma. Together, they stop the spy and discover enough explosives to eliminate the entire camp in the exercise. Yenna reacts immediately. She secretly relocates the camp before dawn. The opposing force attacks the original location and finds nothing. The strategy works perfectly. Yenna's unit wins the exercise. After the victory, Vice quietly approaches Leon. His words sound less like advice and more like a threat. He warns Leon to stay silent about anything suspicious he may have witnessed. For the first time, Leon realizes exactly what kind of man Vice truly is. That night, he reports everything to Yena, including suspicions that Vice leaked their position. Yena listens carefully. She refuses to accuse Vice without proof, yet her reaction suggests she is struggling with doubts she doesn't want to face. A storm soon isolates the base. The main bridge collapses. Supply routes disappear. Food shortages become a serious threat. The game activates a terrifying mission: maintain unit satisfaction above 50% or everything ends. With limited supplies available, Leon must somehow keep morale alive. Using creativity and teamwork, Leon gathers hidden ingredients from across the base: shrimp, squid, clams, even a lemon secretly acquired by Drac. The result is an incredible seafood pasta that lifts everyone's spirits. The satisfaction meter rises, then keeps rising. For the first time since the crisis began, hope returns. The sergeant later risks his own safety by entering the forest to gather edible plants and mushrooms. Despite the colonel's warnings, he returns successfully with enough food to help the entire unit. Leon transforms the foraged ingredients into another remarkable meal. The soldiers eat together. Even the colonel finally joins them. For one evening, everyone forgets their problems. Leon once again tells Yena the truth. Vice is connected to the corruption. Vice may have orchestrated the attacks against her. Vice may be responsible for far more than anyone realizes. This time, Yena doesn't dismiss him. She simply thanks him, and the look on her face suggests she is finally preparing to confront a painful truth she has avoided for years. The bridge is eventually repaired. Supplies arrive. The admiral learns the full story. Before Leon could escape unnoticed, he accidentally made a noise, forcing him to flee into the forest. While running for his life, Leon nearly fell from a steep cliff. At the last second, Chef's Eye identified the strongest tree root, allowing him to save himself until Boma arrived and pulled him to safety. On their way back, Leon discovered the true reason behind the repeated food poisoning. The camp had been drawing water from a contaminated lake. After reporting everything to Yena and the senior officers, the battalion finally learned why the food had always made the soldiers sick. Leon and Boma were publicly honored for their efforts during the exercise. Boma even received additional vacation days as a reward. However, after the ceremony, the major secretly threatened Leon, warning him never to reveal what he had overheard about the corruption. Meanwhile, Yena continued investigating the military suppliers. The deeper she dug, the more shocking the truth became. Many of the companies responsible for delivering food didn't actually exist. They were fake businesses created to steal military funds while supplying soldiers with rotten ingredients. As Leon's reputation continued growing, Boma sincerely thanked him. Without Leon, he admitted, he would never have earned the respect and recognition he had always dreamed of. As Yena continued exposing fake food suppliers, Leon's reputation inside the battalion kept growing. Boma sincerely thanked him, admitting that without Leon, he would never have received the vacation he had waited so long for. At that moment, the system rewarded Leon with a new companion ability after Boma's trust reached its maximum level. From then on, Leon could call on Boma's help whenever he needed it. With Boma away on leave, Leon finally had complete control of the kitchen. But his peaceful days didn't last long. The sergeant assigned Drac to replace Boma as his assistant. The system immediately gave Leon another difficult mission. He had to turn Drac into a companion as well. Unfortunately, Drac made life miserable for everyone. While Leon handled all the cooking alone, Drac only appeared during mealtime, pretending he had helped prepare everything. He even gave extra food to his own friends while everyone else received smaller portions. Every day, he and his gang secretly stole food from the kitchen for their own barbecue parties. Trying to understand why Drac had changed so much, Leon asked Sergeant about his past. Sergeant explained that Drac hadn't always been a bully. He had once been one of the kindest and most hard-working soldiers in the battalion. Like Leon, he had lost his parents and was raised by his grandmother, who owned a famous burger restaurant. After her death, Drac blamed the army for taking him away from her during her final days. From that moment on, he shut everyone out and slowly became the cruel bully everyone feared. Realizing the answer lay in his grandmother's cooking, cooking, Leon decided to recreate her legendary burger. The sergeant remembered only one detail. The burger had a unique sweet flavor, but couldn't explain how it was made. Desperate for help, Leon called Boma during his vacation. Although Boma was annoyed at first, the companion ability compelled him to remember the burger's flavor, giving Leon enough clues to continue. The system left several ingredients blank, forcing Leon to discover the recipe himself. After countless failed attempts, Leon finally uncovered the secret. The sweetness came from jam mixed into the mayonnaise, combined with caramelized onions. Confident he had recreated the original recipe, Leon left the burger in the kitchen without saying a word. When Drac found it, he was furious and nearly threw it away. But the smell reminded him of his grandmother, and he couldn't stop himself from taking a bite. The moment he tasted it, memories overwhelmed him. In his mind, he saw his grandmother smiling as she prepared burgers for him, gently telling him to stop hurting people and live the life she had always wanted for him. Overcome with emotion, Drac sat alone, eating while tears streamed down his face. Leon quietly waited in the storeroom, expecting at least a word of thanks. Instead, Drac walked in and grumbled that the burger still wasn't good enough, even though he had finished every last bite. Leon couldn't help feeling disappointed. The following morning, everything changed. Drac arrived early and threw himself into kitchen work with incredible energy. His satisfaction level reached 100, making him Leon's second companion and completing the mission. Soon afterward, a powerful typhoon struck the country. The battalion was ordered outside to build flood barriers before the storm reached the base. As the winds grew stronger, Rico's glasses were blown away, and Leon rushed to help him. Moments later, a massive steel beam was hurled toward Leon by the wind. For the first time, the usually useless colonel threw himself in front of Leon and blocked the impact, breaking his own arm in the process. As communications failed and the only bridge connecting the battalion to the outside world collapsed, the entire base became isolated. Leon and Drac rushed to inspect the food warehouse and discovered almost nothing remained. Their scheduled supply shipment had been due the following day, but now no one knew when help would arrive. The colonel ordered the emergency food reserves opened. Unfortunately, they contained only old rice, vegetables, and tasteless rations that could barely feed the soldiers for 3 days. Morale immediately collapsed, and the system gave Leon a terrifying new mission. He had to keep the soldiers' satisfaction above 50%. If he failed, everything he had worked for would be lost. Searching every corner of the base, Leon discovered that the system had hidden ingredients in different locations. He found shrimp, squid, and other seafood, but one final ingredient was missing. When Drac mentioned that seafood would be perfect with fresh lemon, Leon realized that lemon was the final piece of the recipe. Just then, Leon asked Drac to help him find it. When Drac suggested adding fresh lemon to the seafood dish, Leon immediately realized it was the final missing ingredient. The only problem was that there were no lemons left in the kitchen. Using the companion ability, Leon called on Drac, who rushed straight to the colonel's office and grabbed lemons from his private supply without even asking for permission. With the recipe finally complete, Leon prepared the seafood meal. The soldiers, who had completely lost their appetite, were drawn in by the incredible aroma. Before long, everyone was eating happily again, their spirits finally returning after days of hardship. The next morning, the entire battalion worked with renewed energy, and the sergeant's satisfaction reached 100, making him Leon's newest companion. Soon afterward, electricity and communications were restored. Grateful for everything Leon had done, the sergeant even emptied his secret stash of food hidden around his office and gave it all to the kitchen. Unfortunately, the extra food lasted only a few days before nothing remained except rice. With supplies exhausted, the colonel contacted headquarters requesting emergency food deliveries. To his shock, the general refused, explaining that the major had already reported the battalion had enough food for an entire week, realizing they had been abandoned because of false information. Everyone understood just how serious the situation had become. Leon prepared one final meal using the sergeant's hidden supplies, but it wasn't enough. Desperate, he and Drac searched Boma's private storage room. Although they hesitated to enter without permission, hunger hunger left them no choice. Inside, they found enough chicken to prepare another feast, earning the soldiers' gratitude one more time. But after that, only plain rice remained. As the soldiers grew weaker, the sergeant asked permission to search the forest for food. The colonel refused, knowing the storm had completely changed the landscape and the mission could be deadly. But the sergeant insisted he couldn't stand by while the soldiers starved. Taking one volunteer with him, he left the camp in search of anything edible. Hours passed without any sign of them. Worried, the colonel removed the cast from his broken arm and prepared to search for the sergeant himself. Just then, the sergeant finally returned carrying wild vegetables, mushrooms, and fresh plants from the forest. Leon transformed the simple ingredients into another delicious meal that restored everyone's strength. Later, the colonel apologized to the sergeant for their argument, admitting he had only been trying to protect him. The two finally reconciled over glasses of lemon juice before the exhausted colonel fell asleep. That night, Leon secretly met with Yenna and revealed that he had overheard the major threatening to eliminate her if she continued investigating the corruption. Although Yenna pretended not to believe him, she remembered seeing the major confront Leon after the military exercise and realized the warning was probably true. She quietly decided to handle the situation her own way. Meanwhile, Boma grew increasingly bored during his vacation. Watching television, he learned that the bridge leading to the battalion had finally been repaired, and supply trucks would soon be able to reach the base. Missing both the kitchen and his friends, he personally escorted the food convoy back to camp. The soldiers celebrated Boma's return, and he happily reunited with Leon. Even Drac, who had once bullied everyone, thanked Boma instead of picking a fight, leaving him completely speechless. Together, Leon and Boma organized the new supplies, and after completing every mission, Leon was officially promoted to an intermediate chef. Finally, the colonel and Yenna reported everything to the general. At first, the colonel humbly claimed the battalion had survived thanks to the general's guidance. But Yenna interrupted and revealed the entire truth, including the major's false reports about the food supply. Furious, the general publicly reprimanded the major for nearly causing a disaster that could have cost countless soldiers their lives. Humiliated for the first time in his career, the major apologized while silently glaring at Yenna. As the battalion celebrated surviving the crisis, he secretly swore revenge against both Yenna and Leon. After returning to the battalion, Leon was rewarded with several new abilities, including faster knife skills, two-handed cooking, and a new talent called Food Critic Rating, which allowed him to measure how refined a person's sense of taste really was. Curious, Leon tested the ability on everyone around him. Boma received only half a star because he cared more about nutrition than flavor. The major earned just 1 star, while the colonel received 3.5 stars. To Leon's surprise, Soldier Shin had an impressive 4-star palate, making him the best food critic in the battalion. Determined to earn his first 5-star dish, Leon experimented with an old fish that smelled terrible. Even after following the system's instructions, the meal still received only 4 stars. Although Leon was disappointed, Boma thought it was one of the best dishes he had ever tasted. Boma reminded him not to become obsessed with perfect ratings because ordinary soldiers weren't professional food critics. He suggested that if Leon truly wanted expert opinions, he should cook at the officers' club. Not long afterward, Leon was ordered to prepare food for a promotion banquet at the officers' club. While Boma worried about handling the kitchen alone, Leon happily accepted the mission. Upon arriving, he met the famous chef Young. Unlike everyone else, Young's cooking skills couldn't even be analyzed by the system. Although Young mocked Leon for coming from an ordinary military kitchen, he still gave him a small workstation. Using fresh ingredients that were far better than anything available at the battalion, Leon prepared several dishes. Even then, he kept receiving only 4-star ratings. Young encouraged him to keep trying until he perfected the recipe. Finally, the system highlighted a special mushroom as the missing ingredient. While Young advised Leon to tear it apart by hand instead of slicing it, the adjustment worked perfectly, and Leon finally created his first 5-star dish. The officers were amazed by the meal meal, especially General Kim. Leon explained that the real reason for the improvement was the high-quality ingredients available at the officers' club. The general immediately questioned the major about why the battalion never received food of the same quality. The major dismissed it as a simple mistake, but Yena confirmed that poor supplies had been a long-term problem. The general ordered a full investigation into the military food suppliers. Afterward, Leon thanked Young for his advice. In return, Young allowed him to taste one of his own signature French dishes. The system rated it an astonishing 6 stars, leaving Leon speechless as he realized just how much he still had to learn. When Leon returned to the battalion, the major immediately launched a full inspection. He searched the kitchen, criticized every tiny flaw, and quietly warned Leon to think carefully before speaking about military supplies again. However, when the new delivery truck arrived, every ingredient was suddenly first-class quality. Yena quickly realized the corrupt suppliers had replaced the spoiled food just before the inspection to hide the truth. The major then expanded the inspection to the soldiers' barracks, writing up countless violations before taking Yena away for disciplinary questioning. Feeling responsible, Leon searched for a way to save her. The system presented him with a new mission. If he could earn General Kim's complete trust through his cooking, he might be able to expose the corruption and bring Yena back. Leon, Boma, and the others learned that General Kim regularly visited a nearby church. Hoping to meet him there, they baked homemade cookies after hearing how much he cared about his beloved daughter. But when they finally arrived, they were stunned to discover that his daughter was actually his pet dog. After discovering that General Kim's beloved daughter was actually his pet dog, Leon and the others quickly changed their plan. Instead of serving cookies, they prepared premium meatballs specially made for dogs. The system awarded the dish 5 stars, and the dog happily finished every bite, delighting General Kim. Although impressed, General Kim knew they hadn't come all that way just to feed his dog. Encouraged by Boma and the sergeant, Leon explained everything about the corrupted food supplies, the major's suspicious behavior, and how the quality of the ingredients had suddenly changed just before the inspection. The sergeant confirmed every word. General Kim immediately ordered a full investigation into the major and the military suppliers. The investigation quickly exposed the truth. The major had been working together with corrupt suppliers, while a general had secretly protected the entire operation. Furious, the general commander assaulted the major for getting caught and warned him never to reveal his name during the investigation. But before the major could destroy the evidence, military police arrived and arrested him. Meanwhile, the general pretended to be innocent, claiming the major had acted alone, although many officers still suspected him. He managed to avoid immediate punishment by promising full cooperation with the investigation. Soon afterward, Yena was released and thanked Leon for standing beside her when nobody else would. Her trust reached 100%, making her Leon's newest companion. Just as everyone began celebrating, another devastating announcement arrived. The battalion would be permanently shut down, and every soldier would be transferred to another base. At the same moment, the system gave Leon a final mission. Within 14 days, he had to win the national military cooking competition. Otherwise, his career as a legendary chef would come to an end, and the battalion would disappear forever. Leon immediately began assembling a team. Boma refused at first, but the moment he heard the winning prize was 1 million won, he eagerly agreed. Drac also accepted after some persuasion, and the three officially registered for the competition with Yena's approval. Back in the kitchen, Leon realized they didn't even know what dish they should prepare. After asking soldiers about their favorite foods, he divided the work between everyone. Drac gathered ingredients while Boma handled the pasta dough. Their first practice was a complete disaster, finishing late and earning only 2 stars. Instead of giving up, Leon reorganized the team so each person focused on a single responsibility. Their speed improved dramatically, but Leon still worried they couldn't defeat Young. Just then, the system unlocked a brand new 6-star pasta recipe. Over the following days, the team trained relentlessly. On the eve of the competition, the entire battalion shared one final meal together before the scheduled closure of the base. As they remembered everything they had experienced together, many of the soldiers couldn't hold back their tears. Finally, competition day arrived. Young's team and Leon's team both performed brilliantly. After adding the final ingredient, Leon's pasta pasta reached an incredible 7-star rating. When the judges tasted both dishes, they announced that Young's team and Leon's team had tied for first place. However, the competition wasn't over. A sudden individual cook-off was announced to determine the true champion. At that exact moment, Leon's timer reached 0. The system declared his legendary chef journey a failure, erased every special ability, and even destroyed the magical knife it had given him. For the first time, Leon stood alone, without the system, without any supernatural help. He relied only on everything he had learned through experience, his father's teachings, and his own hard work. While Young prepared an elegant fine dining masterpiece, Leon chose to cook a simple homemade meal. When General Kim tasted it, he immediately remembered the meals his mother used to prepare. Overcome with emotion, tears filled his eyes. Leon explained that soldiers spend their lives far from home, and sometimes the greatest meal isn't the most luxurious one. It's the one that reminds them of their families. The judges declared Leon the winner. Without the system, he had proven he was truly a great chef. Before leaving the stage, Leon pleaded with General Kim to save the battalion from closure. Other officers explained that the decision had already been approved for security reasons. Just then, the colonel stepped forward with a confidential file he had secretly recovered from the general's office. It contained evidence proving the general commander had been working with the major all along. The colonel also presented a recorded confession from the imprisoned major. Before the commander could escape, military police entered and arrested him. As Leon walked away from the competition, the system appeared one last time, congratulating him for saving the battalion and completing his mission. Back at the base, everyone welcomed Leon as a hero. They begged him to cook the winning dish, and the entire battalion shared one final, unforgettable meal together. Soon afterward, Boma completed his military service. During an emotional farewell, he admitted Leon had completely changed his life. Before leaving, he quietly took Leon's cooking notebook with him as a treasured memory of their time together. Later, Leon appeared at a press conference celebrating his victory, where he reunited with the reporter Maria. As he returned to the kitchen to prepare another meal for the soldiers, the system appeared once again with a brand new mission. His next challenge was no longer to become the battalion's greatest cook. His new goal was to become the legendary chef of the Officers Club. And that's where today's drama reaches its final scene. Thank you for staying with me all the way to the end. And before you go, this recap took a lot of time and effort to make. So if you enjoyed it, please support the channel by leaving a like, dropping a comment, and subscribe. Your support keeps this story alive, keeps every recap coming, keeps this journey moving forward. We're building something big here, and you're part of it. If you're already with us, share this with just one K-drama fan. Just one. Thanks for being part of this story. We'll meet again soon.